amazing to just spend an hour or so walking around one of those facilities. A lot of them give tours, so you can get a tour, particularly if you're a potential customer, to see just the incredible extent that they go to make sure that it's a secure environment. I mean, that's on all levels. Physical security, where you have to have retinal scans and fingerprint scans and passwords to be able to access the facilities at all, to having just the most intelligent brains in the IT industry working to set up the logical security of the environment. So setting up the firewalls and passwords and encryption and things like that to make sure that nobody can do anything malicious to those environments. Now, that's not to say that there isn't some bad guy out there that's smarter that's going to figure out a way to get in there and do some damage. There probably always will be that issue. However, the risks, I believe, are much less in a cloud environment than they are for the small business who has their IT infrastructure hosted in their office there. Availability and performance, I think, go together for small businesses. So availability, I think of this on the cloud computing side. Is that cloud computing service provider going to be available in 6 months from now or a year from now? And if not, what happens to all of my data, and how do I transition my business to a new service quickly to keep my business up and running? And this is a very real issue. Just like in any other technology boom, a lot of companies have been created quickly around cloud computing. There's been a lot of investment from venture capitalists, but most of those, unfortunately, will go out of business, and you've seen a lot of them go out of business so far. So what happens to your business when they fail and shut their doors quickly? And I think that this primarily goes to the contracts that you have with them, and making sure that you have very clear terms about what happens to your data and the services that are being provided to you, and how a orderly transition is outlined if you need to transition service providers. And of course, it just makes a whole lot of sense for any business to make sure that they have a backup resource, a backup service provider to work with in case they do have some problems with their primary service provider. So the last one, performance. To me, this is the issue of I don't ever want to be sitting at a computer and click on something and then have this minute delay between when I click and when it actually works. And I think that a lot of people associated this with any hosted applications or hosted services or cloud services, is that there's this risk of that could happen to you, that between your computer that you're working on and the click that you just did and whatever is happening off in the cloud, off in some great distance across the country or across the world, can just take way too long. And the reality is, a lot of small businesses still have very poor internet connections and unreliable internet connections, or maybe just not that fast. So that can be a real problem if you're working on cloud services and cloud applications, is how do I ensure that my employees are actually going to have access to those applications, and that they'll be quick enough, responsive enough that my employees can actually have a good productive day versus just sitting and staring at their computers all day. I think it's very, very important that any small business that is considering using cloud computing, that you take a careful look at your bandwidth, at your internet connection, and ask, is this the right connection for me to have? Is it fast enough? Is it stable enough? And if not, you should look at your options to find faster and more stable bandwidth, and include those in your calculations of determining whether cloud computing is the right way for your business to operate. So that takes me to hybrid cloud computing, which I think is a real important technology for small businesses to understand. A lot of the small businesses that I talk to when it comes to cloud computing, they do get hung up on the privacy and security issues as well as the accessibility issues. And hybrid cloud computing offers what may be, for small businesses in particular, kind of a best of both worlds, in terms of you get the benefit of cloud computing, but you also get some local computing, so some infrastructure in your office that mitigates some of the security and performance issues that the small businesses get frustrated with. So hybrid cloud computing is exactly that. It's a hybrid situation. You have some on-site hardware and software in your office, but you also have hardware and software delivered as a monthly fee from a cloud service provider, as well as the hardware and software that you have in your office being delivered on a monthly basis as well, instead of as a capital investment. So again, if I go out and I sign up for some hybrid cloud service, my service provider will actually put in some new IT infrastructure in my office, maybe just one small server and a firewall or something like that. And they'll also give me access to cloud computing resources that are off in the cloud. And the local hardware that I have will interact with those cloud resources off in the cloud to give me that best of both worlds. I have a local computing, a local information technology stack in my office that will keep data locally and provide some services locally that make the performance and accessibility of these services much better and more reliable, but also, again, have the ability to offload some of that data and offload some of those services off into the cloud to make sure I have the scalability that I'm looking for. So it really can be a best of both worlds situation that small businesses can take advantage of. And in fact, in almost every case that I'm working with small businesses in a cloud computing situation, they are electing to take advantage of some sort of hybrid cloud solution. So, really something that's worth investigating for you. Really might be a transition step for the next 5 years or so, while some of the cloud computing issues continue to develop and get worked out, that you have this hybrid solution where you have some local internet technology infrastructure combined with the infrastructure that's provided to you from the cloud. All right, so what we covered today, we covered what cloud computing is. We gave you a definition, the benefits to you, the risks and trade-offs that you need to be aware of, which applications and services are best for use in the cloud, and how cloud computing can save you money. And what is hybrid cloud computing, and what are the benefits? And again, hybrid cloud computing I see as really probably the solution that the majority of small businesses are going to work with. So I hope that this brief webinar helped you, and I appreciate you with staying with me here on your busy Friday. And I hope that, like I said, that it helped you get a better understanding of cloud computing and how cloud computing might apply to your business. I did get a few questions sent in here during the webinar, so I'm going to go ahead and answer those real quick. One question is, do I have to outsource everything to the cloud? That's a great question. The answer is no. You don't have to put everything to the cloud. I mean, there may be certain applications that you decide, or services that you decide, hey, I really do want to have these locally, or maybe from a technology perspective, they still can't even really be hosted in the cloud if they're developed in some older technology format. So no, there's no real limits and restrictions there. You may find that certain things make sense to have in the cloud and certain things don't, and that's just fine. That's actually one of the real benefits of the hybrid cloud infrastructure or hybrid cloud solutions that you can invest in, is that, again, it does provide that local presence that you can continue to use some of your applications and services on. Another question here, how much will it cost to move to the cloud? That's another great question. It really depends on the individual business and kind of where they're at, what stage they are as a business, and what technology they currently have in place. So I don't mean to dodge the question, but if you were a small business really just getting started, just had a handful of employees, getting set up on the cloud would just be super, super simple and very low investment. If you're a 50-person company and you have a pretty significant IT infrastructure in place and a lot of data, well then, making that shift to the cloud can certainly be, much more of a project and an investment to get that done. That being said, it's my experience, I don't believe that the investment that needs to be made really is any more than the investment that would need to be made if you were, just doing a network refresh, right? So if you have all of your current IT infrastructure in place, but it's getting old and outdated, or you're running out of capacity, and so you're going to do a network upgrade and replace everything, that I think is just as painful, if not more painful, than migrating to the cloud, really no matter what size of business you are. All right, when I hear cloud computing, I think of Amazon and Google and Salesforce. Are there other options for me? Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously Amazon and Google and Salesforce, companies like that, are investing a tremendous amount into the cloud. And, they're the ones that get all the headlines, of course. But their solutions really are primarily packaged up for, just massive consumer adoption. So their services that they offer are kind of cookie cutter, and in some cases they may apply to your business very well, but in some places they may not. You may need a little bit more of a customized solution. And so, service providers in our industry, the service providers that you've been working with for years to help you manage your environment, really are making a transition to helping become, I would say, kind of brokers of cloud services, and the companies that you can work with to find the right services and make sure that they're integrated and customized to meet your business needs. And there really are a lot of options out there, and a lot of really good options out there that are specifically designed for small business. So I really encourage you, don't just be limited to what you see happening in Google and Amazon and things like that. Those are great services in certain cases, but work with your IT service provider and help them, scope out exactly what it is that you're looking to do, and they'll find a solution set that is the right one for you. Again, looking at the various options that are out there for cloud services and determining the ones that are going to best meet your need, and then integrating those services in a way that they can work seamlessly for you. So lots of options out there, and lots of things for you to consider. Okay, so that was it. Those are the questions that I received. Again, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you got some good information out of this, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend. Take care.